Hi, my name is Joe Prince. I'm the Curriculum and Outreach Educator at the Curriculum Resource Center, which is on the second floor of the Jerome Library. And I'm really excited because today I'm going to be sharing 10 books with you that are written for children, middle graders, and young adults that highlight the Black experience in the United States. And all 10 of these titles are available to check out at the Curriculum Resource Center. So we hope that you will come up and visit us and check out not only these books, but the hundreds and thousands of others that we have as well. And we are always up for recommending more books of this type to you. The first book that I'd like to share today is Going Down Home with Daddy, which is written by Kelly Starling Lyons and Daniel Minter, and it is a recent recipient of the coveted Caldecott honor for Minter's beautiful, beautiful illustrations. And this story follows little Alan, who is going to a family reunion. And everybody at the family reunion has something that they bring to the table, whether it's reciting a Langston Hughes poem or sharing memories. And little Alan is very concerned because he's not sure that he himself has anything to contribute this year, and he angsts over it greatly. The illustrations in particular are absolutely astonishing, and I'm going to turn on my camera and show you some of them. But Minter uses beautiful motifs in his artwork, and these repetitive patterns continue throughout the story, bringing to life a lot of vibrancy in the experiences of this family on the farm. There's a great amount of warmth and joy and connectivity that is emphasized with his artwork. The next book that I'd like to share is one of my personal favorites from last year. This is Saturday by Ohio native Oge Mora. It's her second book that she wrote and illustrated. Her first book is called Thank You, Amu, and it won a Caldecott honor, as well as the John Steptoe New Talent Award. Saturday is similar in vein, and it has Oge Mora's delightful cut paper collage, China marker, and paint collages sprinkled throughout. This one won the Charlotte Zolotow honor, which is an award given to the best picture book text. And this book follows Ava and her mother as they spend a Saturday together. And they're really looking forward to enjoying a puppet show. But Ava's mother makes a really easy mistake to make, and she's worried that she might have ruined Saturday for Ava. But Ava knows that the best part of Saturday is getting to spend time with her mother, no matter what they do. So here is a page of Oge Mora's just absolutely lovely illustrations, and they do contain collage work, found items that Oge Mora weaves into her illustrations. Just an absolutely delightful, lovely, and affirming book, and absolutely one of my favorites from last year. Another one of my favorite 2019 picture books is Another by Christian Robinson. And the most marvelous thing about this picture book is that it is written entirely without words. And it's a book that is best experienced in person, but I'm going to try to give a full experience of it over this presentation. Essentially, the book follows this little girl who wakes up in the middle of the night and notices something very strange in her room. And she decides to follow the secret. And it turns out that it propels her into an alternate dimension. What makes this book so wonderful is that in my experiences with children's literature, I've never seen a wordless picture book that follows a Black girl on a fantastical adventure and follows themes that we usually see pop up in books written by Caucasian authors, and very rarely shown in books written by Black authors. And it has Christian Robinson's trademark illustrations that are childlike but full of fantasy and wonder. And I'll show this opening spread where we see this mysterious light pop up in the little girl's bedroom. And the first odd thing that happens is a kitty cat shows up. And I love Christian Robinson's play on what makes the kitty cat different. We're in a red room with a red blanket and a red collar, and that cat has a blue collar. But the antics wake up the little girl. And once she submerges into this alternate universe through her bedroom, the children who make up this universe represent an inclusive society. So we see children of different faiths, children with different skin tones, children with different abilities. And it's all done in Christian Robinson's extremely affirming and delightful artwork. And it brings to life just the best parts of imagination and wonder. And I won't share with you how the book ends, but it's truly marvelous and exciting. I feel like I've now said that two books in a row are my favorites from last year, and this book is no exception. This is probably my favorite nonfiction picture book from last year. It's The Roots of Rap. And its subtitle is 16 Bars on the Four Pillars of Hip Hop. So this is a history of rap, and particularly American rap music, told by Carol Boston Weatherford, who is a poet, and she tells the story indeed in 16 bars. So it is a nonfiction book and traces the history of hip hop through the ages. Carol Boston Weatherford's writing is beautiful in this book. It's very evocative of hip hop itself. But for me, what really brings it alive are Frank Morrison's absolutely stunning portraiture throughout. So I was born in the late 1970s, and 1980s hip hop is pretty close to my heart. And so it was really, really lovely opening this book and seeing the likes of the Sugar Hill Gang and Queen Latifah and Salt and Pepper sprinkled throughout. And I just love how Frank Morrison brings these individuals to life, and accompanied with Carol Boston Weatherford's beautiful, beautiful poetry, just really shows the depth. There's DJ Cool, the depth of hip hop and the impact that it has had on American culture. A really fantastic book that I highly, highly recommend. And this one's an oldie but a goodie. It's been around for well over a decade now, but it is an incredible book that won a Newbery honor. This is Showway by Jacqueline Woodson, and it's illustrated by Hudson Talbot. And it follows a girl named Suni, whose parents and family create showways, which are the quilts that were used to communicate to slaves fleeing the South, their way up north through the Underground Railroad. It is loosely based on Jacqueline Woodson's own family history, and Hudson Talbot's illustrations really bring the experience to life. So Suni learns her family's history through the quilts, and how each of the family members on through the ages have contributed in such a way um, to where Suni is now in her life. The book is absolutely beautifully designed and really, really brings to life that narrative of many Black Americans don't know their histories. And at the end, it shows Jacqueline Woodson's own family history and how it what has been passed down through the ages. The final page showing how Jacqueline passes it on to Toshi, her daughter. So a truly phenomenal book that brings to light a little known period of history. Now on to some middle grade and young adults titles. And I'm going to begin with a real groundbreaking book from 2014. This is The Crossover by Kwame Alexander. It won the Newbery Medal and a Coretta Scott King honor. And Crossover tells the story of twins, Josh and Jordan, and they are kings on the basketball court. They are phenomenal basketball players, and they're also very, very close to one another. Both the sport and their twindom bond them significantly. Their father is a former basketball player himself, and he was famous, and he coaches now too. And Josh becomes very interested in a girl at school and begins to really fall for her. And the consequences for that are pretty startling. Josh starts to lose Jordan in the process of falling for this girl. One of the things that I absolutely love about this book is that it's written in verse, which is pretty exciting to begin with, but it really captures the spirit of the game of basketball. So the poems take on these exciting shapes and rhythms to really emphasize both the game, how it's played, as well as the intensity of the game. It's poetry at its finest and evocatively written. Students who have taken my 1910 class know that this is an absolute favorite of mine as well. This is One Crazy Summer by Rita Williams Garcia. It was massively decorated the year that it came out. It won a Newbery honor. It was a finalist for the National Book Award. It won the Scott Odell Award for Historical Fiction and the Coretta Scott King Medal. This is the first book in a trilogy, and interestingly enough, all three books in the trilogy won the Coretta Scott King Medal. So One Crazy Summer introduces us to three girls, Vonetta, Delphine, and Fern. And these three girls live with their father in New York City. Their mother is estranged. Her name is Cecile, and she left not too soon after Fern was born. The book takes place in the turbulent 1960s, and Cecile no longer feels that she can care for the children or that she even wants to be a mother. And so she leaves for Oakland, Oakland, California, where she joins the Black Panthers. And she becomes a poet and reclaims her name and goes by the name Anzilla. And Anzilla is really integral to the Black Panthers movement in Oakland, California. And on this particular summer, the summer that Fern is 5, the girls go to spend the summer with their mother, and they're pretty shocked by that experience. Cecile is very aloof. She leaves the children alone for most of the day, where they fend for themselves, and they are put in a summer camp for children of Black Panthers. The book is marvelously evocative of the time period, and it is very, 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 very funny. while also being incredibly incisive. Um, Fern, the youngest daughter, is hands down my favorite literary character in children's literature. She's an absolute delight and has some of the funniest moments in this book as well. I can say that I've read the other two books in the trilogy, and as a whole, it is definitely one of the best trilogies in children's literature. The second book is called PSB 11. It takes place once the girls return to New York City, and Vanetta starts up a kind of a pen pal system with her mother. And then the third book, Gone Crazy in Alabama, the three girls go down to Alabama for the summer, and they experience the harsh realities of Alabama in the 1960s. So a truly wonderful, wonderful book. And PSB 11, it's Delphine who writes her mother, I just realized, not Vanetta. So a little correction there. I'd be remiss if I didn't promote Angela Johnson's incredible The First Part Last. I read this book a dozen or so years ago, and it has lingered with me, even though it is a very slim volume. This book follows Bobby, who is 16 years old, and his girlfriend, Nia, and they're very, very much in love. And Bobby is in many ways a typical teenage boy. He's impulsive, and he and Nia are suddenly expecting a child, something that neither of them particularly planned for. So his life takes a sudden turn, but there are massive complications with the pregnancy, and Bobby soon finds himself in the role of the sole caregiver for Feather, the baby, and what that means and how that changes both his life as well as Nia's life. It's also one of the first books to win a Prince Medal, which is the best novel written for a young adult audience. Dread Nation by Justina Ireland is the first book in a series, and it is probably one of the wildest books I've read. So it follows Jane, who was born a couple days after there was a zombie outbreak during the Civil War. And this zombie outbreak effectively ends the Civil War, but not the machinations of it. And Jane is studying to be something called an attendant. And she's studying at Miss Preston's School of Combat. So basically, attendants are hired by white women to protect them from the zombie uprising. Because in the 16 years since the end of the Civil War, zombies have not been conquered or eliminated. But there are many cities that claim that they are zombie-free, Baltimore being one of them, which is where Miss Preston's school is. So Jane is extremely good at combat, and she's a stellar student at the school. However, things go very, very, very wrong when there is a breach in Baltimore City, and Jane learns a particularly terrifying truth, which sends her life in a direction that she could not possibly have imagined, with absolutely horrifying consequences. First book in the series, and it is a thrill ride through and through. And the last book that I want to recommend today is one of my favorite young adult novels from last year, The Field Guides to the North American Teenager, which won the Morris Award, which is given to the best debut young adult novel. So the Field Guide for the North American Teenager follows Norris, who is a Black French Canadian. So he's used to cold weather, he loves hockey, and his mother gets a job in Austin, Texas. And almost immediately, as soon as he gets off the plane, he is not quite prepared for the heat. And he doesn't really know a whole lot about American culture. So when he arrives at his high school, he's kind of taken aback. There are the jocks and the cheerleaders and the manic pixie dream girls, and all of these tropes that seem to be pulled right from a 1990s teen comedy. And so it becomes this experience in the high school, becomes the foundation for him creating very much as field guide to the behavior and the stereotypes of us of high school students. The book is laugh out loud funny, and his experiences will resonate with a lot of people who have had that fish out of water experience, and it's really delightful. And if you're familiar with 1990s teen comedies, it is an absolute treat. So I hope you enjoyed this taste of some children's and young adult literature which promote Black experiences in this country. And it's been great being a part of the Day of Dialogue. And thank you for your time. And we hope to see you up at the Curriculum Resource Center. Thank you so much for your time.